Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are honored to have with us today Jim Brosnahan. He is an author of his memoir, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases. He's senior of counsel for Morrison Foerster, one of the nation's largest and prestigious law firms. Jim, what a pleasure. How you doing?
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I've looked forward to this very much.
Well, absolutely. And joining me is my co-host, Kristen Fogel. Kristen is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. She'll be celebrating a 20-year anniversary in 2024. And we're in for a treat, Kristen.
We are. I'm excited about this. Anytime we get an author on the show and just someone with a breadth of knowledge like yourself, Jim. So I'm excited.
Thank you very much. I'm excited about both of you talking to me, and including yourself. As I'm a kind of writer wannabe now.
No, you've done it, sir. You're not a wannabe.
At a mature age.
No, that's absolutely. Let me start, if you don't mind. From the beginning, you obviously were very interested in law. Where did you go to law school?
I went to Harvard Law School, and giving you the big news, I met my wife. She was one of 9 women in the Harvard Law School when I went there, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg was one of the 9.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, there we were, and back in the old days, and so I will take a second and just tell you that we decided 6 guys decided to hire a cook, and Carol was a very good cook. I didn't know her at all. So she came and she cooked. And we had promised each other we wouldn't try to date the cook because we just get messy and who knows what happened. We'll lose the cook. So I thought that was sensible. 3 weeks later, we got engaged. And 3 weeks after that, we got married.
Wow.
And on Wednesday, it was our 65th wedding anniversary. So
congratulations.
Forgive me for going on, but it's just in my mind at the moment.
It's all about the story, and that's a phenomenal story. That's terrific. So did you, at a young age, were your parents lawyers?
No, nobody in the family was lawyers, and a couple of them had gone to college. I'm from a very large Irish family in Boston, and I had 20 aunts and uncles, and who were all Irish, and that was our story. And but nobody had gone to law school.
So what got you to trigger to say, listen, I think I want to, dip my toe in this? Did you go to undergrad at Harvard as well?
No, I went to Boston College on a basketball scholarship. But my father and I were watching television when Senator McCarthy from Wisconsin was thought that he was exposing people as communists, and that was the mood in the country at the time. And we watched it every night. And one day, a lawyer from a rather large, almost stuffy law firm was there, and that lawyer defended the young lawyer in his that McCarthy was attacking. And he leaned across the table on national television, the lawyer did, and he said, Senator, have you no shame? And I saw that, and I thought there was something in me. And if you get a chance to look at the early part of the book, there's some reasons why I might feel that way. He told truth to power. And I thought that looked like fun. I really did. I didn't know much about lawyering, but that was the start of it. And I decided I'd try to go to law school.
Well, it's amazing. I was a little too young for the McCarthy hearings, but certainly being a former journalist, you know everything about it. I was knee-deep in Watergate, and that's why I was fascinated by the January 6th Commission and so forth on it. Did you follow any of that stuff? I know you were beyond an infant in the McCarthy hearings, but do you know much about those, Joe McCarthy?
I mean, ish. I thought you meant the January 6th hearings, and I was like, yes, I listened to all of that, but that's before my time.
Yeah, but it's interesting that sparked your interest in that, and then so you're an Eagle, but you played basketball for Boston College, right?
I did.
Were you an All-American? Yeah. Were you an All-American?
And baseball, I was all New England, as long as you ask. And I was hoping you would.
Of course, I'm good.
I was all New England, and I loved it. I dribbled down the court. It was, you're in a world of your own there.
Right. And did you get a chance to meet Bob Cousy?
No, I didn't. I followed him very closely, and he did some things I've never seen repeated. He was a point guard, for your audience, and he dribbled and passed behind his back and did all kinds of things. And the Celtics were fantastic. And one of the people I played against actually became a leading player for the Celtics and became the coach of the Celtics. His name was Tom Heinsohn. That also was, of course, years ago.
Yes, and the reason why I've just put Kristen to sleep. I'm a former sports writer.
It's true. I just tune out all the sportsing. I mean, it's great. In theory,
no. You thought we were going to talk about your book. We're going to be talking about the Celtics and CCNY, and
I'll be in the next room.
Okay, we're going to wake up her up. Hard to believe I actually played basketball myself, Jim, and my rival was a guy named Marcus Johnson who played for. Milwaukee Bucks. They were rivals in high school and went to UCLA and so forth on this. But I digress. When we have you make a return appearance, we're going to have only a sports show with you. Okay. But we might want to just get right to the memoir. Kristen, I know you have some questions for Jim.
I do. I want to hear all about the book. But, if we want to get into that, I want to know, first of all, why did you decide to write the book? What was the moment that you said, hey, I've got to write some of this stuff down?
I tried cases for an appeal. I argued a lot of appeals, but I tried about 150 trials over 60 years. And if I asked myself honestly, Brosnahan, what are you an expert in? One of the answers, there's a couple of things, but one of the answers is lawyers. Mm-hmm. I saw lawyers every day of the 60 years. Mm-hmm. Not only my lawyers in my firm, but the opponents and others. And I wanted to write a book that would share the excitement, the suspense, the enjoyment very often of trials inside the courtroom. And there's so many commentators about law, right? And right now you mentioned Watergate. There was Watergate, and now there's this. And here are 5, 7, or 9 lawyers, all of whom get indicted. And that's the public image. That's not what I know. Mm-hmm. And I know I've tried cases, more than one, in San Diego. I understand the importance of the legal structure and what it's like in those courtrooms. And it's exciting. There's an awful lot of lawyers. In California, there's 288,000 lawyers. We are part of the structure of law. If justice in courtrooms is to be found, it'll be the lawyers and judges who work on it every day. And I wanted to share that with an audience, and it's going quite well. The sales on Amazon, anyway, are pretty good.
That's good. So that was my next point. How do we get your the book, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases by Jim Brosnahan. He is still senior of counsel for Morrison Foerster. So Amazon, can you get it at Barnes & Noble? Can you get it at other bookstores?
Yes, both of those and a couple of others. You can also order it and you get it within 7 days. And the sales, as I say, are going quite well. And you just go into any bookstore in the United States and you say you would like it, and they get it for you, and you can have it sent to your house on Amazon, for example, and Barnes and Noble and so forth. So it's easy to get it, and it's striking a chord. The obvious issue would be, you look at me, I'm 89. Oh, well, he's talking about the old days. Yes, I am, but I'm also talking about yesterday in the book, and things like, will we have a dictator? I don't think so. I think lawyers and judges will do what they're doing now every day. They're reminding people of the Constitution, and we've got a structure there.
Well, first of all, from your lips to the person way upstairs ears on this, we are chatting with Jim Brosnahan. He's the author of his memoir, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases, senior of counsel for Morrison Foerster. It certainly is one of the iconic lawyers of our day. Tried more than 150 jury trials, all kinds, civil and criminal. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. And we're broadcasting from the Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. Mission Fed's been doing great things for more than 60 years in San Diego, joined by my very cool co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and they're celebrating their 20th anniversary, and it's so appropriate to have Kristen with us. Jim, she's an expert on a lot of things, Memoir being one of them. Talk about how you work with Memoir and San Diego Writers, Inc.
Yeah, so San Diego Writers, Inc., Jim, for your information and for the, I was going to say viewership, the audio ship. Yeah. Do we ever call it the audio ship? We're going to call it that now. Is this? You can
say audience.
I could say that. That would be the easy way to say it. Yeah. We work with writers at all different levels and all different genres, and Memoir has become so popular, particularly for the people that we serve, because people are retiring now, and much like you, Jim, they want to write about their careers and paths and everything like that. So, Memoir is a big part about what we do. Did you feel at any point that you wanted to fictionalize this, or did you always from the get-go think that this was going to be a straight memoir?
I thought telling the story would be as factual as I could make it. And I got very good advice at the beginning by a gentleman who started the annual gathering of writers in San Francisco. He said, and this is like eye-opening. Mm-hmm. It's not about you, he said. This is a memoir talking about. It's not about you. It's about the audience.
Yeah.
And that struck me. And so it is a memoir. I've got from early days to pretty much now, but also the heroes in the book are women and men and judges and young lawyers that I work with, and a couple of lawyers in Northern Ireland who were killed because of who they represented. A Mexican widow, 60 years old, who worked with the Catholic Church in Mexico and was indicted in Arizona for helping refugees. In fact, I have in the book a scene, I won't take your time right now, but we're in a Mexican jail, and the people that we're talking to, the refugees, are being sent back to Guatemala and El Salvador that night. And that allows me to make a point. The problems of society, most of them find their way into the courts in San Diego. Mm-hmm. something that can't be resolved. Something like a school board says you can't read this, or any of the First Amendment things that are so much discussed right now, find their way, divorces and so forth. All these problems find their way into the court system. And I got to tell you, even when I was walking down the hall of a courthouse like in San Diego, and I was on my way to my trial, I'd be passing courtrooms where these problems are not only being argued, but the lawyers learn all about it. And if we have time, I'd like to mention some of what lawyers actually do. Now, we have people indicted right now. There'll probably be a huge wave, as there was after Watergate, to reform the law. All the lawyers, the 278 lawyers and 1,000 lawyers in California, all need to be reformed. Guess what? Most of them have not only never been indicted, nobody ever thought about indicting them. So that story is made, and I used scenes and techniques to, not to preach, but to show them these scenes, like the Mexican jail and Northern Ireland, and representing the head of the board of directors of Hewlett-Packard, which I did, who fell from 17th most powerful woman in the world in business to the cover of Time magazine being excoriated and all that. And so we're inside. We get to see all that.
So, Jim, let me do this. We're going to take a quick break here. And I can tell you right now that I want you to make another appearance on our show just to get to all the stuff that we didn't get a chance to do today, if you're willing to do that.
I'd love to.
Yeah, well, consider that done. I'll work with Deb on that. We're going to be right back. But think about this when we come back from break. My business partner, you got an email from him, Charles Parisi's daughter, Ava, is in her last year of law school at Duke, and she's going to be a brilliant lawyer and so forth. So think about, when we come back from break, what advice you would give to people that are thinking of going to law school or are already in law school, okay? How's that sound?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, we're going to be right back with Jim Brosnahan. He's the author of his memoir, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases. He tried more than 150 jury trials of all kinds, civil and criminal. He's also senior of counsel at Morrison Foerster, one of the nation's iconic law firms. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're on our 17th year. We are brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my wonderful co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary in 2024. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union and Mission Federal. Been doing wonderful things in San Diego for more than 60 years. We're honored to have with us Jim Brosnahan. He's an author of his memoir, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases. He's been doing this for more than 60 years. He's a senior of counsel at Morrison Foerster, one of our top law firms in the nation. I'm joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary in 2024. So right before break, I want you to think about what advice you would give for people that want to think about becoming a lawyer, those who are in law school ready to graduate. What advice would you give them?
Well, I'd start by telling them if I could do it today, 2023, if I could go back and start over, I would do it. And I never saw as many, let's just call them interesting legal issues pending all over the country as the present time. And part of it is the divisions that people have and the firm views that they have. And all those, pretty much should be respected. And being a lawyer is an exciting thing. I taught a class at Berkeley Law for 10 years, and I'm quite familiar with the insecurities that law students have. It's a big world, and what's going to happen, and will I get in the right place, and I want to do this, but will I have to do that? And all those things are really sensitive, but get out there and do it. And specifically, if you want to reform something, I'm speaking to our own brand new lawyers on Monday. And if you want to reform something, go do it, whatever it might be. Maybe you think that there are religious deprivations in the law. Maybe you think that there should be more morality. Maybe you think women's rights is not, that battle is not over. It's one that I care about a lot and have. I had a teacher, a high school teacher, she got pregnant. They put her on 3 months unpaid leave. And so I represented her, and they couldn't come up with a reason. And so they, in San Francisco, finally they said, well, it would cause disruption. She'll be pregnant and all that. I argued, it's in the book. This is in the 70s. I argued in the book that when I was in grade school, there was a lot of disruption, but the nuns were not pregnant. and they couldn't think of a reason why they had it. There's a lot of that.
So, please tell me you won that lawsuit.
What?
Please tell me you won that lawsuit.
Yes. The rule was expunged, and she was reinstated. She got her back pay. And, I'm still on the subject. When you have a day like that, you go home, you feel good.
Oh, yes.
Okay? You feel good. And I'm not limiting it to I live in Berkeley. I have what used to be called liberal ideas. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all the lawyers who encounter some rule. And the question is, why do you do that? And the answer is, well, we've always done it that way. I've been told that many more than once by judges. When I filed this 40-page brief, he said, we don't do it that way. And so that's my, what I say, the last words in my book, I think it's the last words I say, you want to reform something, do it. And if you're a kid and you've had some difficulties in your youth, and I did have some in my youth in the book, do it. You won't be sorry. You will not be sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We're chatting with Jim Brosnahan, author of his memoir, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases. He's also senior of counsel of Morrison Foerster. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. He's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. You can get Jim's book at Amazon and at bookstores and 4 billion other places. We're going to have Jim, back on for a repeat appearance. But before we do that, we have a couple more minutes, and Kristen will be joining me when you come back on again, and I'll work with your publicist on that. Deb Zip, Merrill Moss, and I love working with those guys. By the way, they always have people like you on that are so interesting and fascinating. We could have done 55 episodes of this and never lose a breath on it. But real quickly, I got my master's degree in mass communications, and my favorite subject was law of mass comm. So I studied Times versus Sullivan, which is a big deal now these days, and you certainly know first common law as well. Talk about if you got a couple minutes, how important that is, our freedom of the press.
Well, it's not only important for the specific utterances by press people, but rather it's a quality in our democracy that creates the idea that if you have a different idea, whatever it might be, you can express it. And I've thought, I handled a lot of First Amendment cases, and I love them because you're always fighting for ideas. Some might be better than others, but you're always fighting for ideas, and you're fighting to defend free speech. We are a country that lives on reform. There's today, somewhere in California, there's a young person who says, why do we make the telephone that way? What if we did this? That atmosphere of ideas is one I don't think Americans are ever going to want to give up. I really don't. I know there's things perceived as offensive, but Oliver Wendell Holmes was on the U.S. Supreme Court. He was the great espouser of ideas that he didn't agree with at all. And he said, that's our system. And I did represent the Chronicle at a time when they were fighting for their existence. They're still in existence. And we won that case at the time. So I spent 7 years doing other things too, but fighting for the Chronicle to continue to function. And you may not like some of the news. You probably watched one that you do like, but the right to speak is central to this country, and it has been. The words are very simple. You listen to people, even some of the judges on the Supreme Court, you think it's the most complicated thing in the world. No, you get to talk. That
is so true. Actually, my former colleague at the San Diego Union Tribune is the publisher of the Chronicle currently, and so maybe when you're on, I'll bring Bill on as well if you're comfortable with that.
I would love that. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Jim, what an absolute honor. We are going to have you back on. We barely touched all.
I know. I have so many publishing questions. You must come back on. Please promise us.
Please.
Thank you so much. That's nice.
We'll make sure that we do that again. You can grab Jim's book, soon to be a New York Times bestseller. That's if it's not already. In that vein, it's Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases. It's his memoir. He's also senior of counsel at Morrison Foerster. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.